So I'd like to extend, we all live on a common continent, and therefore we have the European Union. I'm pleased to hear you say that. We also, that continent includes Russia, and of course includes China, and it includes India. So I'd like to address two questions here. One is Eurasia, and on the one hand, which incorporates those wider parts, and the European Union. How much you are looking at Eurasia as a growing entity which Europe can do good business with in every sense of the word. I might say a Ukrainian solution could come about when you work with that bigger concept, because Ukraine is in between the two and could develop a very constructive role with trade and diplomatic even diplomacy. It's only when we've got a positive vision of that can work that we can actually find solutions in the today. Now, in the finding of the solutions in the today, I'd like to propose thinking in a newer way about an Antipodean view of the wider world, an Antipodean place away from the problems and the pressures. That is the country we are now in, which is here in New Zealand. And in Wellington, we have the European Union there. There's also a Russian embassy. There's also German and Indian and Chinese, and you name it. I'm wondering if many more conversations could be had in this faraway part of the world where people can just in a friendly way sit down together and look at problems and solutions in a more broad sense. And if you see any possibilities of doing that sort of thing and any Europe in doing that sort of thing, Wellington is a place of cosmopolitan conversations, as a diplomatic village. Must I have written some blogs on this subject that I could mention that?
So that was your second question, or just one?
So my first one was really, two really. One is the potential
Eurasia.
And
second one is
Wellington is a place where these sort of things could be discussed by people.
So on the second one, I would ask you if you are challenging the role of Switzerland. You know, the Switzerland.
No,
it's
we're away from
watch out with the Swiss. Is there any Swiss here? No. Okay. Now we'll.
Southern Switzerland.
Yeah.
Southern Geneva.
Great. Geneva is a lovely place. Basically, I will reply on second. Eurasia on the first one. Eurasia is a geographic, is a geopolitical concept difficult to image. We try to narrow ourselves on the 28 member states. So we limited ourselves to the 500 million people who live within the European Union. We have diplomatic relation with all the members of the country who live in Eurasia. Some are better than others, but we have relation with everyone. There's no a single framework. There was the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, born in '75 in Helsinki, OSCE, which was trying to bring between Vancouver and Vladivostok. It was a big space to create a space for human rights, and I think and a good part in the end of the Second World War is still working when Ukraine, when the rebels seized the eastern part of Ukraine. The mission which was sent was a mission of OSCE, so people from I say ideally from Vancouver to Vladivostok, which reflect the idea of a larger continent that goes even beyond the Atlantic. In terms of geopolitics, the relation is for us is between now and Russia. In Ukraine is geographically in the middle of two areas. Certainly, we in Europe we do not interpret the international relations still in the idea of the sphere of influence. No? I have there's a dominant power, and the others around are part of an influence. This is something that we abandoned. We had in the past. Certainly, we are not interpreting the relation. We want people who live our neighbor to share prosperity. My prosperity is your prosperity. We don't believe that I can be if I'm better off and you are in trouble, I will prosper. Far from this. And this has been the element has altered the balance in Ukraine. Ukraine has always been just 20 years alternating looking west and looking east. And at the end decided to look west in signing an agreement with us. It is a political and trade agreement. Seems to be incredible, but still in the 21st century, signing a treaty means can create a global crisis. And for us, the relation with Ukraine is a relation of prosperity. We want the Ukraine to be able to trade with us, we were able to invest in that country, but we never thought that we should consider Ukraine against Russia. Never been an idea either or. We said we share a border with the Ukraine, we want to invest in Ukraine, we want to trade in Ukraine, we want the democracy to prosper there. We never reason in terms of sphere of influence you might refer to. So that's why it's been the very different reaction we had, because for us we because of our history, because how the Second World War ended, with how the Iron Curtain fell, we believe that the relation between countries should be governed by human rights, rule of law, free trade, social market. This is where our project is moved from 6 members to 28, with other 10 countries who want to join the European Union. So this is our mindset. When somebody else use a different matrix, still believe that you can deal your neighborhood invading, we are in a completely different mindset. This is the tension that's being created between the EU and Russia. Now we hope to solve it.
Yesterday, another ethnic Italian, Pope Francis, addressed the European Parliament and the Council of Europe, and he gave a report card that was very critical of the European Union.
Mm-hmm.
He said that Europe was a continent that others mistrusted. He said that the institutions of the European Union are too involved in bureaucratic technicalities instead of inspiring the people of Europe. And the third point he made was that the Mediterranean could become a giant cemetery unless countries in the European Union were more willing to take migrants. I'd like you to comment on Pope Francis's report.
You asked me to comment in a compatriot or the Holy Father.
Well, one ethnic Italian.
He's a tall order. Huh? Okay. Well, I haven't read the speech of our Holy Father in Strasbourg yesterday, and I take for value the comment you made. I presume you are quoting what he said. Hmm? So I quote your quote. Huh? Having said that, which is a precautionary measure, of course, what I would say, maybe I start from the last one. Migration. Migration is a very complex issue, and our borders are European borders, are very affected by what is happening in Ukraine, what is happening in Moldova, what is happening in Syria, in Iraq, in Lebanon, in Egypt, and so on and so forth. So I think, talking as of my home country, only in 2014, 150,000 immigrants arrived in Italy, only in Italy, 150,000. Is it clear that is a problem that cannot affect a single country? There is not a problem that it can affect only Europe. The question is that we have part of the world that are in trouble, and the people tend to flee the country. We made the last, I think, the IOM, which is International Organization of Immigration in New York, made the calculation that if you look at the migrants and what is called the internally displaced people, the IDP, so people who move from like Southern Ireland to Northern Ireland. It's in 2014, in 2013 were 50 million. There's 50 million, which makes the 25th country in the world if they were regrouped in a single country. So this is a global problem, and Europe is doing its share. The Holy Father might say you are not doing enough. You are doing. Others might say we are doing too much. If you listen to some politician, but if, for example, Italians right now are doing a great share of the job. You can try to imagine you have to add 150,000 people per year, which is not skilled people arrived with a great number. These people came with no passport, no skill, no language. They came really from great difficulties. So what we are trying to Europe to make is to do our share, and we are trying to develop, or we are developing a common policy on how to welcome these people. First, rescue at sea, how we bring home, how we check the asylum seeker, and so on and so forth. Because the question is that some of them are asylum seekers, so according to the international law, international covenant that we sign, if we recognize someone who is an asylum seeker, you are obliged to let him enter your country and provide him assistance. But if he's not a migrant, is not an asylum seeker, you are entitled to bring him back. So it's a very complex situation, because how can you define a person who has arrived with no passport? You cannot control the nationality, how you can control for the reason from the country. So it's a very complex problem. Europe is doing its share. I might agree with those who say maybe it's not enough. And certainly Europe cannot be accused of passivity, because it's something that we live every day. Of course, Holy Father has its own views on this, but Europe has the need to implement a credible immigration policy. In terms of bureaucracy, I think it's the usual critics that you make against any government. I believe I don't talk with this country, but of course those who are in the politics or in the bureaucracy always tackle, this is politician or there is bureaucrat. They always have on the wrong side. I'm part of a bureaucracy, so I know what is bureaucracy is within. Bureaucracy, it's nothing against bureaucracy, but Brussels is a place where we make law. We set law for 500 million people who came from completely different background, completely different juridical system, and so we have to act by law. EU is a law-based society in which we have value, but at the end we've set together law, and we have to provide this law to be adopted in 28 parliament and to be enforced in hundreds of courts. So it's we should not be very inclined to transform everything which is legalistic or near to the law in something which is bureaucratic. And what I see is the process in Brussels, and maybe that was the message of the Holy Father, is to, contrary to be more bureaucratic, to be more political, in the sense have the possibility to take political choice. And Brussels became more and more a place of policy where where the politician can play a role. If we see the European Parliament, right now you have a debate for people who is in favor of Europe and people who is against Europe, people who want more Europe and people who want even to discard the project we have made. So there's a lot of politics in Brussels as well. But again, the system is a body of institutions who have to run and give guidance to a continent of 500 million people. Try to imagine the scale of the task, and we are bound by the law, and we will have to respect the law.